Hello everyone and welcome once again to First Web Designer. I'm James Richmond as always, and today on the show, of course, we have Paul Jarvis. You have seen him before, or at least heard him before on our podcast. Today something different, you're going to see him. As you know, of course, he makes website, but what he also does is he educates his clients. And today we're going to find out why you should do it and how to do it. Hello Paul, and how excited are you about this topic?
I am super excited because this is probably the thing that I hear other freelancers complain about the most, and they don't have to. So I'm stoked to talk on this subject for sure.
Yeah, and so again, as always, perhaps I'll ask a little bit of your own personal history, as much as history there is about Paul Jarvis. But how did it all happen? Why did you decide, man, this can't be going on like this? I need to educate them. What's going on?
Yeah, I think it came to a point where I realized that it was my fault that I was complaining about my clients, because a lot of clients, it could be only their first web design project or maybe their second, whereas this is what we do for a living, so we do lots of them. So it's not their fault they're asking shitty questions. It's my fault that I didn't teach them how to ask better questions, or how to give feedback on mockups. Clients don't know how to give feedback. If you ask somebody for advice, especially if it's design or creative, people are going to give you their advice, and most of the time it's going to be shit, because they don't know how to critique anything, right? So unless you can show a client how to critique something or teach them what's good feedback versus bad feedback, then they're just going to keep making your life miserable, and eventually just their logo is going to be the entire screen, and there's going to be like a little bit of like 10-point text underneath it, and that's it. So yeah, you have to teach your clients how to be good clients, because they don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good point actually, but see, perhaps you're very passionate about this industry, that's why you bother, because I have heard lots of web designers who just say, well, they're paying for it. The sooner we get this done, the better. So why wouldn't you just get it off the plate and move on to the next one, It takes time educating them. They don't pay for you to educate them, you know what I mean?
Well, actually they do. Like if you charge a little more, then part of that budget can be education. So, and the reason why I do that, and the reason why I don't just say like, yes sir, yes ma'am, I do all the change requests, is because I want my clients to do well, right? Because clients that do good business and make lots of money hire me again, and then they build their brand, and then I'm associated with their brand, and then more people see their brand and see, hey, Paul Jarvis designed this, maybe I'll hire this guy. So it's in your best interest for your clients to do really well. So the more that you can educate them, because web designers know how the internet, like we know how the internet works, so we can give that expertise. And I don't think clients hire us just for design, or at least not, if you're charging enough, they're not hiring you just for design. They're hiring you to solve problems for them with their website, and design is the output of that. So you can give a bit of feedback in there. You can say what could work or what can't work. And I argue with my clients all the time, and not in like a combative, like kind of way, but just in a like, if this is what you want, why do you want this? How does this relate to business goals? How is this going to get you more revenue or more signups or more shares or whatever it is that they're after, kind of thing. And a lot of times I found that clients, if you just ask them why they want something, most of the time they're going to change their mind, first of all. And secondly, that gives you an opportunity to give your experts advice and opinion once they give you that answer. Because a lot of times what they're asking for isn't really what they're asking for. They're asking for something else, and you need to kind of dig a bit. You need to have a bit of a conversation with them to get to that like deeper. They really want this. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is perhaps one of the best case scenarios where, like you said, maybe they just haven't worked with a web designer before. But what if they have worked with a web designer who has taught them this kind of behavior, What do you do then?
You have to unlearn them. Yeah, it's not your fault that the last person that they hired didn't teach them how to be good clients. And that basically it's easy to frame this, right? Because if you say like, look, we're on the same page. Like, I want your business to do well. You want your business to do well. The way to get there is if you're paying me to do this work for you, to get the most value out of the work that I do for you, you need to lean on my expertise. You hired me for a reason. So I'm going to show you how to give better feedback so we can get to better end results. So you can make more money. As soon as you tell a client that they can make more money, they're going to start to listen.
No, that's it. It's like, obviously, that's the value. That's one thing that you both want in common.
Yeah.
But one thing that always has bothered me, and many people have asked, say, interesting concept about you. You're not particularly interested in, picking a niche. I just code, even, I don't know, WordPress. I don't design or blah blah blah. So you are pretty full-on guy. You'll take a bit of business advice, email marketing, implement all of that. They hire you as an expert, not just as a designer. So where is this fine line, because next thing you know, they might be coming to you and asking for, I don't know, for accountancy tasks, for advice. And I mean, things that you're like, man, it's going too far. Or maybe you want to keep taking them on. Yes, give me all of it. Let me run your company for you.
Yeah, I do get far too many emails about accounting and legal advice that I don't do. So the point there is that I do a lot of different tasks for my clients, from strategy and marketing and email automation, design, all of that, but I do it for a specific niche. So I'm a generalist for a very target audience. So I only work with very specific people, but I do a lot of things for them. And I find that works a lot better for me than being somebody who just does one thing, but for everybody. Because it's so much easier. It's hard to market to everybody. It's hard to show up on everybody's radar. If there was a magic wand to do that, I'd be like, yeah, fuck guys, I'm showing up for everybody. Everybody's going to hire me as a web designer, but that's not the case. But if you focus on a specific audience, like I did, like positioning yourself for that audience, then you become known as that guy or that girl in that audience. Like when people think web design for the audience that I target, they think of my name. And that's good. It's a small audience, but it's enough of an audience to easily sustain my business and to easily keep me booked months in advance. And more importantly, that when people think of my name, they think of my name not as a web designer, but as like an expert web designer. So they know that I've worked with people that they know and that I've shown them like great results. So when they come to me, it's because they want the web design and all this advice and me telling them basically what they need and what they should be doing.
That's it. No, that's it. Web design expert. Yeah, because even though we covered it on the podcast before, even though you advertise yourself, as a web designer, but that's just as an output. What I wanted to touch now, I have a particular question about a, particular mindset and way of thinking for clients, which I'd like you to tackle a little bit and give us a little advice. But before that, I'd like you on your own just tell me what are the realistic things that are going on. Obviously, I went overboard mentioning about accountancy, but realistically, what are the things? We all know stories about make black darker, white whiter, but like realistically, what are the things that really annoy you and would just ruin the relationship if they carried on doing this way?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it comes down to not being willing to collaborate. So I'm okay if a client has a different opinion, but I'm going to argue that with my opinion. And if they never take my opinion into consideration, then it's not going to be one thing that ruins the relationship. I would not have any clients if it was just one thing and I'm like, see you guys, I'm gone.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a, like, if the entire project is them just wanting it their way without listening to me and why it could work better in a different way, then they're fired. Then I'm not going to work with them in that case. Luckily, that rarely happens because I screen my clients really well. But yeah, like sometimes I win the argument. Sometimes they win the argument. And it's not like arguing, yelling. It's just like, this is the point I want to make with how this could convert better if we did it this way versus what you want that showcases your brand a bit better. Then whatever. If one person gets their way, cool. Then I might get the next one. But if they never listen, then what's the point of hiring me? Just go to Fiverr.
Yeah.
Hire a web designer there for $5.
What happened to your Fiverr profile? Is it dead now?
It is. I got too booked from doing the $5 projects, and then I also had that you can get the 1-day turnaround for an extra $5, and that got booked too.
Unlimited revisions.
All the revisions. It was $5 a revision.
No, man. So yeah. So my now question was again very realistic thing, which you don't seem to be having problems with. Um, if it's a business that's already earning money and wants to take a step further, especially someone like you work with clients who actually earn money online and they need website. So serious business, not necessarily a corporation, but perhaps even a team of few. Clearly well, at least I have heard that they would prefer to work with big teams, with agencies. It somehow comes across as more professional, maybe joint expertise is higher, I don't know. But there you are on your own, a little fella with rats in the house, tattoos covered. So why do they hire you? Why not hire a joint expertise team?
It comes back to what I was saying earlier about positioning. So I don't focus on doing websites for everybody. I focus on doing websites for a very tiny audience. And so when people think of that, it doesn't matter if I'm a team or I'm just like one idiot sitting in my house with tattoos and writing code kind of thing. Like it all comes down to how you're perceived for the audience that you want to show up for. So I don't care about most people don't know who I am, which is perfect. I only care about my audience knowing who I am. So when I'm writing content for my blog, I write content for that specific audience. When I'm taking on clients, I try to take on clients that are of that specific audience. When I'm working with those clients, I help those clients do well so then they become known names in that audience.
Mm.
So then when other people see them, they're like, "Oh, Paul did their website. I want Paul to do my website." That's how probably 99% of the referrals I get are because somebody saw a website of somebody that they respect and love and probably buy things from, and they're like, "Oh, Paul did that site. I want Paul to do my site because he's done all of these sites. His name keeps coming up." And there's a reason it keeps coming up because I focus very hard on a specific audience. So it doesn't matter if I'm one guy or like a team of 50 or a big agency. Like it just doesn't matter because I'm the guy that they think of when
Mm.
they think they want web design or strategy or that sort of thing.
Yeah, and of course, I guess then, like you mentioned in our previous podcast, whenever there is a need, you can always hire extra help, a pair of hands, freelancer, specific, I don't know, illustration you might not be good at, and so on. So it's not like you're forever on your own, alone.
Yeah, I work with a content strategist on almost every project. Like Sherry Hansen is her name. So her and I work on almost every project together. And then yeah, like you said, I suck at drawing, so I hire illustrators as needed too. But yeah, I
Mm.
work with, and I think that's kind of the way that things work now too, is you can kind of build teams per project. So if you need something from somebody like another freelancer, you hire them for the project, then you don't work with them until something else comes up. Whereas I have friends that run agencies who are like, holy shit, I have like $120,000 a month burn rate because I have all these employees, and if we don't have projects for that month, then it's coming out of my pocket. So whereas when you just work with other freelancers, it's like you're working with them because the money's there for the project. When the project's done, you go your separate ways. You work on other stuff. Done.
Mm.
You don't need to carry them.
Yeah, that's it. More flexibility, especially because, the Seth Godin saying is it's not anymore job, world of jobs, but it's a project, work on project basis. Um, Yeah, so we also slightly touched now about how you position yourself, which again goes more towards marketing and branding. But would it be wrong to say that the actual educating the clients, your potential clients, initially kind of begins even publicly before they even reach out to you? You kind of educate them what you're all about and what to expect even before they reach out to you.
Yeah. So a good way to do that is writing. So people see my articles and they see that I'm teaching people how to make money on the internet, not like in a stupid way, but in like a real human being way, and not like with a laptop on the beach and getting like sand up your ass and like in the like USB holes in the computer. But so people see that I'm trying to educate people right before they even like reach out to want to talk about working with me. They see that I even teach courses, right? So like they see that I'm pretty obsessed with education because I want the best possible outcome. And even in when somebody reaches out to me, I have basically an automated onboarding process. So when they reach out to me and like, "Hey Paul, I want to do some work," I send them a guide that says you're the right client for Paul if you fall into this category. You're not the right fit if you fall into this category. This is the process that I use. This is how to give feedback. That's a big part of the onboarding process, is teaching my clients how feedback works, because that derails so many projects. So right from the very beginning, before they get in touch with me, I'm teaching them. When they get in touch with me, the first thing that I'm going to do before I try to sell them on hiring me is teach them. So the teaching is through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's it. And I like how you mentioned the onboarding, which obviously is a big trendy word right now, and how you can onboard even your clients. I like the idea as well of how you're the right fit, you're the wrong fit. For a lot of web designers and freelancers, that would be a nightmare. It's like, why would you let it go? It's a potential client. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, you earn respect that way as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the more people, niching is scary. Like focusing on one specific audience or focusing on one type of project is scary, because you're like, shit, there's money on the table that I'm not taking. And I can see it right there. There's the money. I'm not taking it because it's not the right project. But then over time, and I haven't seen this work the other way, everybody that I know that has focused on a very target audience and on a very specific type of work that they do sees good results, because then their name gets known. Then people come to them because they're that guy or that girl in that industry. So even though you're leaving money on the table in the short term, in the long term, you're building this reputation as an expert in the field and in the audience that you work in.
No, that's it, yeah. And you mentioned already that kind of a good way to do it is writing. Of course you are doing podcasts, videocasts like this one, but then of course you have your own opinion about social media. I know you're a big fan of email marketing, so maybe you can mention a few tools apart from sending a manual email. This is what I'm all about, you are a good or a bad fit. What are the tools publicly available, how you can educate? Let's not call it the marketing, but actually educate your potential clients or prepare to educate them. Social media, email marketing, what is it?
Yeah, it's all of those things. It's finding out where your audience spends their time on the internet already and going to them. So finding out like what Facebook groups or Google Plus communities or Slack channels that they're in, and talking to them. And people ask questions on the internet and then they wait for people to answer. If you can be the person that answers, then you've already established a relationship of you knowing something that that other person does not know. So you're an expert. Like that's it, right? So it's finding out, like, whether it's comments or communities, like I said, whether it's social media. Like if I open up my Twitter stream, it's like half of it's like content marketing, but half of it is like people asking questions like, how do I do this? What do you think of this? That kind of thing. So it's easy to just start to build expertise by just interacting with your audience. And I think that's where a lot of freelancers fall short, is they only interact with their audience when their audience comes to them and asks them if they can do some work. Whereas you should be out there interacting with your audience all the time, because these are the people that you want to hire you. So you should be getting to know them. They should be getting to know you, right? So every channel available, use the one that your audience is using the most. So if they're all on Facebook, hop on Facebook. It kills me to say, because I don't use Facebook, but like if your audience is on Facebook, use Facebook. Or if they're LinkedIn. So you just got to find out where they are, go to them, and start interacting with them there.
And I guess even when you know where they are, then you still have to do the filtering out, because half of them might not fit the list, Paul's list. But so I want to touch a little bit more about these specific so-called characteristics, if you can call them. Of course, you got your own, for Paul, but maybe some of them could fit more sort of general freelance web designer category. As in, what would be the hazards that, like, you definitely watch out for these? It's not going to be a good experience that you could recommend to our today's listener.
So I figured out that the biggest problem that I ever have with clients is listening. So if a client doesn't listen, and this is the main reason that I have an automated onboarding process. So I'll touch on that quickly. So they get in touch with me. Hey, Paul, I want a website. I send them a PDF. The PDF has all this information in it. At the end is a button that says, like, if this all seems like you're a good fit, fill in this questionnaire. They click the button, it goes to type form, and they fill in a questionnaire. It's got like 6 questions. It's pretty quick. At the end of the questionnaire, they click a button and it goes into my scheduling program, and they pick a date and time to talk to me on Skype. And then when they click that, they get an email and I get an email. If they can't follow those instructions, like if they can't read and listen, I'm never even going to get the email, right? So they're never going to get in touch with me, and but that is good, because if they can't follow if they can't follow 3 steps, there's no way the project is going to go well. Like if they can't listen to my writing, because a lot of communications email, if they can't listen to my writing at the beginning, it's not going to happen during the project. Or if they email me 15 times saying like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to fill in this form, it's like, this project is going to take 100 times longer. Like, why would why would I want to work with this person? So I think it all comes down to listening. If your client doesn't listen to your simple instructions from the beginning, or doesn't listen to what you have to say from the beginning, then it's probably not going to be a good fit. Like, you can take their money, but it's going to take you 10 times longer to do the work. So maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's like a monkey-proof system, isn't it? Which
Yeah.
immediately I get this picture from MailChimp, and you send a button, the monkey press the button animation.
Yep.
All it is, you just press a few buttons. Yeah, actually, yeah, listening, by the sounds of it, is a big one. But then, okay, so clearly we are all human beings, but looks of it, you are one as well. I believe you have made few mistakes. I mean, you let them through the filtering system, you're in the project, and you're like, man, how did he end up in here? You know what I mean? He went through all this process, but I definitely still don't enjoy it. Maybe 1, 2 cases that has happened like that?
Yeah, and it definitely still, like, it still happens. Not nearly as much. Like, in the beginning, it was pretty much every project. I hated the client and wanted to kill them. And then I wanted to kill myself. It'd be like a murder-suicide. Because it just wasn't fun. Like, I just make the logo bigger, change this black to be blacker. And it's like 000. It's like 6 zeros in hex, and it's like, adjust your contrast. So, like, yeah, in the beginning, it was every project was like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I should just work at an agency where there's a project manager who can filter all this client bullshit. But then like I said, I realized, like, if I educate my clients, it's better. But now, yeah, it still happens, not that often, because I have so many checks and balances in place with, like, talking to potential clients on the phone first, and getting them through the onboarding process just to, like, really see if there's a good fit. But still, people slide through the cracks. And I think when that happens, it's so easy to just get pissed off and be like, this guy or this girl's an idiot. Like, I don't know why I'm working with them. But when you take a step back from that and maybe let yourself cool off, go for a walk or something like that, then you can kind of see, like, it's that the problem here is not that that person is an idiot. It's that we're not communicating properly. So how can we fix this? How can we communicate better? And sometimes if it's just like an email, like you've seen these email threads where it's like 500 emails and you just keep seeing like re colon, because every time somebody replies, it adds re. And then it's like it's off the screen. It's like, pick up the fucking phone, have like a 5-minute conversation with them, and you can probably clear it up. If something has to go back and forth on email more than 3 times for the same thing, the communication's broken down somewhere, pick up the fucking phone or use Skype or like whatever, get on like a video call or something. Because I find all of the frustration comes down to communication. So if the communication isn't working, find a way to communicate better, or just like have like a coming to God talk with them. Like if the project is that crappy, then just be like, this is not a good project. Like, we're obviously not communicating. What can we do to fix this? Otherwise, we're just going to go our separate ways. And I've done this a bunch of times with clients, and knock on wood if I had any, clients tend not to want to walk away. There's loss aversion and sunk cost bias psychology shit happening where people have already invested in the project. They've already thought that this was going to finish. People want to finish projects, right? So if you say, like, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about like quitting on this project because it's not working for all of these valid reasons in a calm way, and I want to fix this. I don't know how, but I want to fire you, basically. Clients pretty much all of the time say, like, okay, let's figure out how to do it, instead of like, okay, then just fire me. Right? So a lot of times we get so like wrapped up in our own little camps when there's disagreements, when you just got to like come together and talk about it like real human beings.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's either, like I said, phone or even Skype call. It's so much quicker. But it's interesting also because a lot of sort of web designers, don't know where they got it from. Anytime it's anything apart from email, they'll like charge you per hour or per minute or whatever. But this time, this in these kind of situations, it actually works for you, helps you, so it saves you
It's
time
quicker.
and money, in fact.
Yeah, it's quicker if you just like have a real time conversation instead of like sending an email in all caps. Then you gotta wait like 10 minutes, an hour to see them reply. It's like just talk in real time, get it dealt with. I don't like being on the fucking phone, but if I have to, I'm going to, because I want the project to stop being stalled. As soon as a project loses momentum, it's really hard to get that back. So at all costs, try to like keep the wagon wheel rolling.
Yeah, that's good, man. Before I let you go, we are getting very close to the ending the show. I have one more question, similar to something I asked you already before, which was, in a lot of situations they have never worked with a web designer, so they're not educated yet. But in a lot of situations, their education's been ruined. They had to unlearn things because of a previous web designer. Now, is there something that already, I don't know, ruins their perception publicly, whether it's media, whether it's, I don't know, where they get it from, some other forums, I don't know. Is there something publicly that already sets them up for a different kind of expectation? Because I've seen a lot of articles, how to hire a web designer properly, and I read through them, I'm like, it's not how you do it. And I look at who wrote it. It's just a writer who's no clue about web design. So these kind of things, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean that's a matter of like media now is open to everybody. So if you're reading these articles with these writers who don't know the first thing about hiring a web designers should start writing articles about how to find a right web designer or about what a client should look for in a web designer or that sort of thing. So if you don't like something, change it. Really.
Yeah,
It's a
that's it.
novel
That's it.
thought. So yeah, right. And I keep saying right, but it's basically like create content. So content could be things like this, like a video thing. It could be just an audio podcast. It could be writing articles. It could be posting to message boards where people look for web design. Like it could be anything, but it's just creating content that teaches people. Because most of the time people want to learn the right way to do something. And as long as you're not confrontational about it, it's a lot easier because people, like I said in the beginning, it's like you want the same thing as your client. You want your client to make more money or to do better in some regard in their business. If learning how to work with a web designer is the key to doing that, your client is going to want to do this. It's in their best interest because they want more signups or more sales or that sort of thing. So it's all in the way that you frame it with your client because you're on the same team. Like just because there's a relationship of like somebody giving somebody else the money, it doesn't mean that person is the other person's bitch. It's like it's a collaboration. It's not just like here's money, go do this. It's like here's money for the value that you have, but I need your input as well as just like you sitting in Photoshop. It's like you're not a Photoshop monkey or like sitting in whatever programming language you use. It's like there's a collaboration, and that's why I'm pretty conscious about saying the word collaboration as much as possible in the like my onboarding process and before they get there, because I want clients to get in their brains that they're not just hiring me and telling me what to do. They're hiring me so we can work together. And there's a very big distinction there. And I think more web designers need to start making that distinction with their clients.
Yeah, actually, I thought it's going to be the last question I asked you before, but now you're making me ask one more question, which is actually something our audience keeps on asking and would love to find out more about. You mentioned word collaboration, you mentioned work many times. The typical situation for today's freelance web designer, similar to what you mentioned, is here's the website, thank you very much, there's the invoice, see you later. They need to revamp it or update it, yep, there you go, another little task. Now, if there is even such a simple answer, how do you educate them to keep on giving you money?
It's a concept called following up. Oh. So the last point of contact with a client should never be, here's the final invoice, thanks, and then when they pay it, thanks for paying me. Put in your calendar, like contact them in a week after launch, contact them in a month, contact them every 6 months from then on. How is everything working out for you? Is there anything that I can help you with? And those words are magic words because is there anything I can help you with? translates into money in your pocket. So the more that you can keep in touch, because keeping in touch, and it's not just like looking for money, it's trying establishing a relationship. So I found, because I've been doing this like 17 plus years now, I find the more that I can establish a relationship with my clients where I actually care about their business and I learn what's going on and I keep in touch with them a couple times a year, then they're always going to be sending me more work. They're always going to be recommending. If you're slow on work, then you can even be in touch with them a few times and then say like, hey, is there anybody that you know that's looking for somebody like me to help their business? And you can look for referrals from your clients once you establish a relationship. So I think that's really the biggest thing, because a lot of freelancers, like, we all get busy with our projects, but just put it in your calendar, like, to contact your client and have a reminder every 6 months. How's business going? Is there anything I can help you with? And that sort of thing. And just keep the lines of communication open. And then you can see some pretty good results from doing something like that.
No, that's a good advice, definitely. Follow up, yeah. Sounds like so much hard work and all that. All it takes is just put a little note in your calendar. So for you, I guess you have to put a note in your calendar to come back on the show at some point soon again, because this is the end for this episode. Thank you very much for, again, educating us how we can educate our clients. Before I let you go, of course, again, what are you working on? Where can we find you? Is there anything new being boiled?
Yeah, so I basically have two things. Well, I guess three, because I work with clients, although I'm not doing that much web design work at the moment, but I still do that. So the first thing is my newsletter. It's free. I write articles for freelancers and creatives every Sunday. It's called the Sunday Dispatches. If you Google Paul Jarvis, I'm the whole first page of Google. Just get on my mailing list from there. It's pretty easy. Second thing I do is I teach a course for freelancers who are good at what they do, but not as good at business, so not as good at marketing, positioning, sales. Basically everything I talk to, I've made into an online course called the Creative Class. And if you I think it's thecreativeclass.io. And there's a discount that I gave to First Web Design. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but put it in the show notes or something. There's a $100 discount through me talking to you today.
Yeah, I will. I think it was First Web Design. Yeah, I'll put it down in show notes, definitely.
Cool.
So it's still active then?
Yeah, it is.
Great, lovely. Thank you very much for that, and I hope to see you again with yet another great new topic on the First Web Designer show. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, man.